Hi, I'm Matthew Clegg, and I lead the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program at Dassault Systèmes. With the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program, we aim to acknowledge and connect community members from around the world who go above and beyond in sharing their SOLIDWORKS and 3D ExperienceWorks passion and expertise. We embrace a hands-on approach to expand our understanding and mastery of not only SOLIDWORKS, but 3D ExperienceWorks' portfolio of best-in-class tools for 3D modeling, simulation, and manufacturing, all available on the 3D Experience platform. With over 6.5 million SOLIDWORKS users around the world, we've handpicked over 700 of our most passionate and skilled users from 54 countries to directly engage our development and executive management teams. As SOLIDWORKS champions, we work together as thought leaders, innovators, and educators within the global SOLIDWORKS community to shape the future of SOLIDWORKS together.
I think the thing that I enjoy most about being a SOLIDWORKS champion is being able to hang out with like-minded individuals on a regular basis. You get to meet people from all over the world and hear their stories.
It's this community that somehow has magically appeared based on a piece of software. It's unbelievable. We all use the software in such a different way. To see other users and what they're doing and some of the things that they create, it's always fascinating. What I like best about the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program, it opens your eyes up to what other people do. This community which is built up around a piece of software, it should never happen. I don't know how it's managed to do this, but it's unbelievable what people create.
What I absolutely enjoy most about being a SOLIDWORKS champion is the camaraderie, is the community, is the huge network of friends, new, old, in between.
To network with the people. A lot of the people in my area, because I live in a rural area, are small businesses. They don't get to go to 3D Experience World. They don't go to a lot of conferences. It's a way for me to help them grow and learn by just getting away for a few hours and being able to network with other users in the area.
Everybody, welcomes you with open arms. Everybody's so easygoing, and whether it's a problem or a success, even if you're just there to listen, you're going to come away with being a better person and more highly skilled in SOLIDWORKS than you were before you came into that day.
It's really odd being in what I would call an elite group, the SOLIDWORKS champions. There's a small batch of us that are really well known all over, and it's really unusual for me because engineers are usually tucked away in the corner, nobody knows them, and then you go to a conference and it's, oh, are you Todd Blacksher? Yeah, I am. Wow, and they're excited to meet you, and it's like, I'm just a guy that shares stuff about SOLIDWORKS.
When you're walking around at SOLIDWORKS World and you have people coming over to introduce their friends to you, it is kind of geek famous. It is, as a few of our friends have said before, it's a software, and I would have never expected that years ago.
I started a user group in April of 1996, and there's maybe 24 people at our very first meeting. 26 years later, there's 6.5 million SOLIDWORKS users worldwide. Same thought that I had when I first saw SOLIDWORKS demonstrated 26 years ago. It was just like, and today, 26 years later, it equally blows my mind that almost half my life has been involved in the SOLIDWORKS community. In so many other ways, the SOLIDWORKS community is almost 100% my life. It's something that just means the world to me, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
What is my favorite SOLIDWORKS feature?
Oh, geez, that's a hard question.
Oh, golly.
Almost every feature is my favorite feature.
My favorite SOLIDWORKS feature has to be power trim. Even though it's just a sketching function and it's not that fancy, the feature can be used to do so much more than trimming. I have a blast showing it and all the extra things that nobody usually knows that it can do.
Given that my job is based in sheet metal, I would have to say it's the sheet metal tools that I use on a daily basis. They save me time. So pretty much it's any feature that's going to save me time over what I'm normally working on.
Mouse features, when they introduced mouse features, not a common one, but certainly a one I like.
My favorite SOLIDWORKS feature is an obscure one. It's the flex feature. It doesn't have a lot of, practical uses, but it just blows my mind with the crazy geometry or crazy topology modifications that it can achieve on, seemingly simple shapes that you can just twist the bejesus out of.
If I was to have to pick one, I would say the whole package of patterning. It's just so powerful. It saves so much time, so many options, and it's just come so far over the last 20 years.
Mates. I just love putting together assemblies and mating things together.
When you're trying to knit together a complex surfacing and make multiple edges intersect in a common area, the fill command is an amazing get-out-of-jail-free card.
Bringing SOLIDWORKS designs to life, I think the biggest thing for me is being able to point at something and say, I did that. One of the SOLIDWORKS projects that was the most meaningful for me was to be able to make a set of adapters for my dog's wheelchair so that we could put skis on it so he could enjoy the snow. The thing about it was when he was a puppy, he loved the snow and he developed degenerative myelopathy, and so he started losing strength and the ability to use his rear legs. And so I designed and 3D printed some parts that I could attach to his wheelchair, and then I cut down some cross-country skis and attached them to the adapters, and he was able to go out and play in the snow for 2 more years. That was pretty awesome. And it was in People magazine.
SOLIDWORKS makes me a smarter person. It takes, those crazy thoughts that are in your head and puts them into the CAD world, and then eventually, into the real world. And, you're confident when you're going to take those plans to the shop floor for assembly and manufacturing.
I look out my window into the workshop and I see a duplicate of what I've got in front of my screen being physically manufactured directly in front of me.
And then within a short period of time, days, weeks, months, have that created in real life and actually validate that your designs worked and that the desired outcome is being achieved is really a real-time reward in this industry.
To accomplish a very intense solid model and have someone see that and basically compliment you on it, or just to have people that have worked with the model to be very thankful of how you set it up, that's very rewarding.
The most fun I have is when I'm modeling something in SOLIDWORKS. That applies to when I'm working on products, designs, machinery components for my employer. And also in my spare time, I might be looking at a piece of glassware in the department store, and all of a sudden I'll get this faraway look on my face. Then, a friend will realize and they'll point blank confront me saying, I know what you're doing. You're trying to figure out how to model that in SOLIDWORKS. I'm guilty as charged. That's what being a champion is all about. Being enthusiastic, being curious, and sharing.
Hi, I'm Matthew Clegg, and I lead the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program at Dassault System. With the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program, we aim to acknowledge and connect community members from around the world who go above and beyond in sharing their SOLIDWORKS and 3D ExperienceWorks passion and expertise. We embrace a hands-on approach to expand our understanding and mastery of not only SOLIDWORKS, but 3D Experience Works' portfolio of best-in-class tools for 3D modeling, simulation, and manufacturing, all available on the 3D Experience platform. With over 6.5 million SOLIDWORKS users around the world, we've handpicked over 700 of our most passionate and skilled users from 54 countries to directly engage our development and executive management teams. As SOLIDWORKS champions, we work together as thought leaders, innovators, and educators within the global SOLIDWORKS community to shape the future of SOLIDWORKS together.
I think the thing that I enjoy most about being a SOLIDWORKS champion is being able to hang out with like-minded individuals on a regular basis. You get to meet people from all over the world and hear their stories.
It's this community that somehow has magically appeared based on a piece of software. It's unbelievable. We all use the software in such a different way. To see other users and what they're doing and some of the things that they create, it's always fascinating. What I like best about the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program, it opens your eyes up to what other people do. This community, which is built up around a piece of software, it should never happen. I don't know how it's managed to do this, but it's unbelievable what people create.
What I absolutely enjoy most about being a SOLIDWORKS champion is the camaraderie, is the community, is the huge network of friends, new, old, in between.
To network with the people, a lot of people in my area, because I live in a rural area, are small businesses. They don't get to go to 3D Experience World. They don't go to a lot of conferences. It's a way for me to help them grow and learn by just getting away for a few hours and being able to network with other users in the area.
Everybody, welcomes you with open arms. Everybody's so easygoing, and whether it's a problem or a success, even if you're just there to listen, you're going to come away with being a better person and more highly skilled in SOLIDWORKS than you were before you came into that day.
It's really odd being in what I would call an elite group, the SOLIDWORKS Champions. There's a small batch of us that are really well known all over, and it's really unusual for me because engineers are usually tucked away in the corner, nobody knows them, and then you go to a conference and it's, oh, are you Todd Blacksher? Yeah, I am. Wow, and they're excited to meet you, and it's like, I'm just a guy that shares stuff about SOLIDWORKS.
When you're walking around at SOLIDWORKS World and you have people coming over to introduce their friends to you, it is kind of geek famous. It is, as a few of our friends have said before, it's a software, and I would have never expected that years ago.
I started a user group in April of 1996, and there's maybe 24 people at our very first meeting. 26 years later, there's 6.5 million SOLIDWORKS users worldwide. Same thought that I had when I first saw SOLIDWORKS demonstrated 26 years ago. It was just like, and today, 26 years later, it equally blows my mind that almost half my life has been involved in the SOLIDWORKS community. In so many other ways, the SOLIDWORKS community is almost 100% my life. It's something that just means the world to me, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
SOLIDWORKS community program changes, updates. How about the SOLIDWORKS User Group Network, allowing you to learn SOLIDWORKS tips and tricks from anywhere? The SOLIDWORKS Champions Program, giving you access to SOLIDWORKS and 3D Experience Works products in ways that no one else can in the world. no one else in the world gets access to them. The SOLIDWORKS Forums, a 24/7 worldwide SOLIDWORKS help desk powered by community members all across the globe. What is up, everyone? Welcome to SOLIDWORKS Live. My name is Sean O'Neill, and today, my guarantee to you is this. We will explore what each of these programs and initiatives is while exploring some of the major changes you'll be able to benefit from within each during 2023 and well beyond. So each of the questions I will ask the respective leaders of each of these community programs and initiatives, namely the SOLIDWORKS User Group Network, the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program, and the SOLIDWORKS User Forums, is absolutely powered by true FAQs, frequently asked questions from you guys, our SOLIDWORKS community. So think questions like, how do I apply to the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program today? What are the requirements for the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program? Questions like, how has the SOLIDWORKS User Group Network changed since things seemingly all around me went very digital in recent years? And how can I get involved and meet my people, my SOLIDWORKS people? So we will deliver on each of these and many more. And let's get started by welcoming on the guy who took my job from me just over a year ago. And that is Matthew Clegg. Matt, what's going on?
Hey, Sean, it's great to be here today. Definitely got some big shoes to fill, but doing my best.
Yeah. So, by the way, just highlighted this, Todd Blackshear. We have a new feature here. We can, just like SOLIDWORKS, we get new features here on SOLIDWORKS Live. The Trinity of SOLIDWORKS awesomeness. So that is that's big praise from someone that we saw in the intro there. So absolutely, and I do agree. So Matthew, you're first up. This is the newest, so the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program, right? This is the newest SOLIDWORKS program around, and arguably the biggest. In your own words, what is the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program?
Thanks, Sean. Our mission is to acknowledge and connect community members from around the world who go above and beyond in sharing their SOLIDWORKS and 3D Experience Works passion and expertise. By the numbers, 2022 was a huge growth year for us. We added over 300 champions worldwide, and in 2023, we've renewed 500 active champions, and now I'm focusing on member experience and continually adding value to the program. We're now 500 champions across 54 countries, 14 industries, a truly global program. We're primarily commercial users, but we also have 98 highly certified college students, and I'm very proud to share that we have 231 certified SOLIDWORKS experts in the program. So Sean, if you had to guess, what percentage of users around the world do you think are champions? Well,
I see one right there. So I know, right?
There's several in the chat too.
Yep, I see one. So shout out to you guys in the chat, by the way. But let me answer your question, Matt. So I'm going to start with the CSWE kind of baseline there. Let's go to a percentage basis. I'm going to go with less than 1%.
Oh, much lower.
Okay, less than 0.01%.
We're talking 0.007, 007% of users worldwide.
Impressive and easy to remember. So
right.
I like that number.
007. We're an elite group. It's a lot of fun. And the numbers are cool, but you might be asking yourself, what's the culture of this highly concentrated collection of uber nerds? And I would say we're very fortunate to have a true cross-section of global industry and culture. Champions are thought leaders, experts in their field, passionate teachers, and we're excited to learn and embrace new technology. My vision for the SOLIDWORKS Champions program is to continue to deepen and widen our product knowledge within a fun and engaging format. I want to equip and empower champions to be subject matter experts in their field and be the leaders our industry needs for long-term success.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I even see, again, we mentioned some champions in the chat. So Ridvan getting the shout out, who's made some fantastic 3D modeling and beyond tutorials that we've seen in our communities, which we'll talk about later. So like you mentioned, champions contributing in so many ways, not only to the SOLIDWORKS community, but just the broader, right? The broader design, engineering, and manufacturing communities. But Getting into the Champions program at a deeper level, Matt, what are the benefits of joining the SolidWorks Champions program?
Well, Sean, if I think back to when I joined as a champion, when you were running the ship back from day one, my favorite aspect of the program, and I know I'm not alone in this, is making like-minded friends all around the world who love using SolidWorks just as much as we do. I guarantee you'll learn ways to use our software that you never would have imagined without the global industry perspective that the Champions program offers. Another benefit, access to the 3D Experience platform. Several things here. We have the Champions Forum, a lot of what we're seeing on screen, where we discover, engage, and collaborate with other champions in our 3D swim community. More on that with Mr. Hall later in the program. Champions Headquarters, the dashboard you're seeing here, a private dashboard and single source of truth for everything program related, special announcements. The biggest thing here, in my opinion, is exclusive access to the 3D Experience Works portfolio of commercial grade software. As Sean mentioned at the top, this is software you're not going to get anywhere else in the world at no cost for evaluation purposes. And we're going to do a deep dive in all of these technologies later this year. This is the only place you can get that. And I'm very excited to offer that as a program benefit in 2023. Additional benefits include Champion swag, SOLIDWORKS shirts like we all have here. This is stuff you're not going to find at a retail store. You may find it on eBay at highly overpriced, but you can
High
get,
markup.
right. It starts with our program. That's where it should stay. But weekly meetings, just like this virtual format. We get together every Friday at noon Eastern. We mix in some social lunch hour discussions about SolidWorks, fire up the program, talk about best practices, whatnot. And then we also sprinkle in technical presentations from all of us here at Dassault Systems, all brands. We have a lot coming up this next year for technical programming, which I'm very excited about. Another benefit, we receive digital badges issued by Credly. These are things you can put on LinkedIn, virtual resumes, ways to stand out from the 7 million users around the world. Another benefit is direct interaction with our executive and R&D teams. I'm very proud to say we had Manish and Suchit on early in the year last year to just have lunch with us and talk about their history in the company. Over 50 years of experience with R&D. It's an incredible conversation. First pass invitations to special programs and initiatives, new product trials, and you can also get featured in SolidWorks blogs and social media posts. We want to showcase your designs, all of this really awesome stuff I see on LinkedIn that people are building. This is what we want to show front and center in our program.
Yeah, there's a lot to cultivate, a lot to celebrate as well, right? You mentioned LinkedIn, and I think the people that I've talked to one-on-one out there who had maybe never heard of the SolidWorks Champions program. Of course, everyone likes swag, right? But a lot of people will come up to me and they'll say that very thing. They'll say, "Oh yeah, I heard of the SolidWorks Champions program from LinkedIn because I saw someone showing off this awesome swag. I need to apply to the program, by the way. Look at me. I have a flannel shirt on. You guys have these cool, branded polos. And of course, there is official, not just SolidWorks gear, but SolidWorks Champions program gear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is really cool. And I like that you mentioned the digital badge, right? You are recognized as that 0.007% out there on spaces like LinkedIn. Being able to say that I am not only a certified SolidWorks user, ultra certified, but also I'm involved in all these other ways actively, making a difference in my community, which I think is fantastic. And for employers, right? Sure. Like it's not just about your skills, but also what you do with those skills. And I think that speaks well of a lot of our champions.
It's one of the best conversation starters during an interview of ways you engage and further community. Absolutely.
Very cool. So we mentioned 0.007%. That's your figure. I'm gonna keep that in mind.
Okay.
Of course, there have to be some requirements, right? To that, to be able to maintain that. So let's get right into it directly. What are the requirements for the SolidWorks Champions program?
Well, we do have a very stringent application process. We are looking for well-qualified college students and industry users. We do have the full spectrum of a person's career and community engagement from when they learn, typically in an academic format, all the way through retirement. So we're very proud to have that full cross section within the program. We also ask that you have passed the Certified SOLIDWORKS Professional Certification, CSWP. We also ask that you're engaging SOLIDWORKS User Groups. We're going to hear from Dan Wagner here in a little bit. It's very important to us that you're learning and teaching, completing the life cycle of product knowledge here in industry. We also ask that you demonstrate frequent and professional participation within SOLIDWORKS online 3D swim communities. This includes Made in 3D, User Forums, News and Info, all the stuff Mr. Matt Hall is going to be talking about here in a little bit. Also including all of our social channels we have for SOLIDWORKS: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I think that's it. There's quite a few out there. But that you're just engaged. You're learning and teaching, and that you're plugged into the pulse of the community is the greater picture there. And these requirements are always posted online at solidworks.com/champions. We'll have that URL up here in a little bit again towards the end of this interview, but those are always listed online as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and these a lot of these benefits, right? And you've expanded on them personally. I would say, I made the program back in 2020. That's, I think, it first launched in summer of 2020. And a lot of these benefits are new, and some of them were even new to me. Like you mentioned, getting extensive degrees of access for evaluation to different SOLIDWORKS products, to different 3D Experience Works roles and products. That was something that I was not able to do at that time. That was not something that I had implemented. So that is a huge, in terms of announcements, changes. I think we've already delivered on that today, and explaining that aspect of it, which I think is huge. And a lot of the benefits, right, that you mentioned, they all sound great, right? They all sound great in theory. Can you share maybe a few stories of how members have benefited from the SOLIDWORKS Champions program, over these past few years?
Sure, and I'd like to add all of these new evolutions and additions. These are products of work that span several people, many years. This is a huge team effort on our part, collectively.
100%.
Everybody on this call today, this is front and center of what we love doing, is just continuing to evolve the SOLIDWORKS community experience. So with that, one of the favorite memories I have in the program is 3D Experience World 2023. This last February in Nashville. This is something I know I'll never forget. I know many of you in the chat were probably there with us. It was an incredible week in Nashville together in person. This was the first time champions have been in person since Sean created the program back in 2020. We had over 40 of us in a room together, nerding out to SOLIDWORKS with Sanket Patel and Bowhead, talking about his best practices with data management and how they've released their new products. It was an incredible story to engage in. And it really serves as a new program milestone that we get to look forward to each year. You see, we got footage here, Sean knocking back some insanely spicy wings. There's so many good memories from that. And I hope to really dwell on that for future in-person events as we keep growing and scaling the program.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to show those aspects as well. Of course, like the caption alludes to, we all want to make friends in our and contacts and different connections, right? Within our networks, our peer groups, right? But it's also important to make human relationships, and I think at events like 3D Experience World, through programs like the Champions program, you're able to do that. And sometimes it doesn't mean sharing SOLIDWORKS tips and tricks, although it does mean that quite often. Sometimes it means eating chicken nuggets with really spicy, really hot sauce with escalating Scoville ratings.
Tears of joy. That's right.
Tears of joy, right?
Uh-huh.
So you're, in a lot of ways, you're gaining access to that new group, and I think that's really important to illustrate, in addition to all of the very topical, like software-based and industry-based stuff. So very, very cool. I just want to say, continue, you guys, on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. I'm checking out the chat here. I'm in control of showing the messages, by the way. So if you hear some clicks and you see me smiling and looking down at the messages, I'm just highlighting some. So worldwide audience today, by the way, Matt, just to take a second,
awesome.
just take a breather. Good night from Bangladesh. So right now it is 11:17 a.m. Eastern, where I am here in Pennsylvania. Todd says, I tend to brag about my connections. Not a bad thing if your connections are as good-hearted as a lot of Todd's friends. So, so awesome. Very cool to see some familiar and unfamiliar faces here in the chat today. Zainab saying, hello, everyone. Hello back to you. Roger saying hi. So cool. So we have LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all in the mix today. So again, feel free to continue, and I encourage you to continue sending your chat messages. But keeping on this topic, right? SOLIDWORKS Champions Program. Matt, what are some 2023 initiatives that SOLIDWORKS Champions Program members are getting involved with here?
The first one that comes to my mind, we're already planning for 3D Experience World 2024 in Dallas. This is now a year-round planning event. So we're already talking about ways we can keep tweaking the Hive and adding some new cool things. I don't want to give any spoilers here because this is highly top secret information, the Champions Program. But it's such a privilege to be front and center in planning this incredible event as a program. So that's a big one. We talked about our 3D Experience Works portfolio integration, getting all these roles out to all of us champions, getting training, collaborative projects to learn and explore all this new technology that SOLIDWORKS can plug into. It's really incredible. Collaborative builds for the Magic Wheelchair organization. This has been a cornerstone in our community programs for years. SWUGN 8. Dan is hard at work on these things. He's up to the 8th iteration now, and I'm not even going to try and mispronounce what it stands for.
No. I am happy to. And it's funny you say that because those are a lot of words there, a lot of some larger, longer words. But most years it stands for SOLIDWORKS largest user group meeting ever. There was a year, I believe it was SWUGN 6, where it was the longest user group meeting ever. But yes, the SOLIDWORKS largest user group meeting ever. Now, I'm not going to try to say that like 8 times fast for SWUGN 8, but I do believe that's correct.
Right. We got to get Dan an energy drink sponsor for that one of these days. These folks are amazing of how many hours of programming they stitch together from all over the world. And I'm sure Dan will talk about that in a bit here too. On the theme of our collaboration with User Group Network, a lot of overlap between user group leaders and members and champions. Within that, we're seeing more regional in-person user group summits, several in the Great Lakes area here in the U.S. This last year, we're looking to expand on that. We have SOLIDWORKS Live Design. Danny, our champion of the year last year in 2022, has been on there with you, Sean. That was an incredible thing to watch. We'll continue to showcase our champions on live throughout 2023 and social media channel showcases. We want all of these incredible designs from around the world. We want to tell the rest of the world what we're up to. So social media is always a big way to do that. And the rest of it's top secret. So we'll have to stop there.
Well, let's see. You talked about special product access, which is new, right? You talked about being able to have actual, real-time conversations in specialized settings with R&D, with leadership here at SOLIDWORKS. You talked about being able to show off your skills and show off some of your products maybe on streaming episodes like SOLIDWORKS Live Design, which we started back last year and it continues through this year. So if there are more secrets, I am plenty impressed. But if I were not working here and I were eligible to be a SOLIDWORKS champion, I would surely want to join. So that brings me, Matt, to my next question. How do I apply to the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program?
Well, and Sean, you always have a seat at the table. Leave the back door open for you. But I truly believe we have the most engaged and passionate user community in our industry, hands down. If anyone watching today would like to join the top 007% of users around the world, I invite them to apply online. SOLIDWORKS.com/champions. Thanks, Sean.
Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much. I have to say before you go, I'm very proud of everything you've done to take, honestly, the program to a whole other stratosphere. That was one of the things I was really excited to see when, I took this role in directing our live stream programming, to see not only what a new voice and a new set of ideas, but your voice and your set of ideas was able to do, and your efforts to make the program even more valuable, not only from a SOLIDWORKS perspective for all of our community members, but giving them more value within each other, and giving them even more industry value than ever before. And it's been so awesome to see those changes. But thanks again for jumping on SOLIDWORKS Live here with us today.
Well, thank you, Sean. I really appreciate it.
All right. So members of the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program, like Matt just mentioned, are involved in all sorts of things. Like he mentioned, special design projects, user groups, STEM programs, video content creation activities, and online spaces, just to name a few. And that last one, online spaces, comes in many forms. You might be thinking social media or industry articles, the SOLIDWORKS subreddit, forums. Well, yeah, across the board, those are all online spaces, I would say. But our next focus area is the SOLIDWORKS User Forums, an online forum space that we at SOLIDWORKS have created as a sort of home base or homepage for SOLIDWORKS users everywhere. And joining us today to speak about the latest on the SOLIDWORKS User Forums is another Matthew Hall. Matthew, how you doing?
Hello, Sean. Fine. Very excited to be here. Thanks.
I'm super excited to have you. You're live on SOLIDWORKS Live here with us today. So Matthew, first question, I hope it's pretty obvious. First question of this segment, what are the SOLIDWORKS User Forums?
Yeah, great question. But first, thanks for having me here today, and hello to everyone on the live stream. Your question is a great one, Sean. The SOLIDWORKS User Forum has been around since 2007, so it's nothing new. But more recently, it was integrated into the Dassault Systems 3D Swim user community environment, which you're showing here up on the screen. It is the place for SOLIDWORKS users to join, engage, ask questions, get help from many other very smart, experienced users, and SOLIDWORKS brand experts as well, in order to solve any design issues or challenges they may have, all with the goal to help everyone succeed. And essentially, the forum community here, it's a great space to come learn everything and anything about SOLIDWORKS, Sean.
Very cool. So I can see just a couple of things differentially, right? There are all sorts of different categories, right? We think of SOLIDWORKS, right? And there's so many different categories. Like I love those of you who've watched SOLIDWORKS Live Design, maybe even saw my SOLIDWORKS API focused live design episode. I love the API. I can just do it right to API macros. And like you can see here, I'm asking a question. I wonder if I'll get answers. Maybe we'll find out later in the segment. But best way to send a file without associated IP. So you're really gaining access to the entire worldwide community by asking questions like these, and people quickly answer. We'll see, right? We'll see the answers that I get from this one. And then your questions posted. Anyone who's signed in, anyone who's logged in can answer. Anyone can sign up for free. But this brings me to my next question, which is, I'm seeing this. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Maybe I'm going to Reddit, which is great, right? But maybe I'm going somewhere else to ask my SOLIDWORKS questions or answer SOLIDWORKS questions. This looks pretty cool. How do I access the SOLIDWORKS User Forums today?
Yeah, instead of all those other places you mentioned, it's really easy and simple to access the community, Sean. Access is open to anyone using SOLIDWORKS. Just go to swim.3ds.com, and then, like any other social platform, you'll need to log in to access and take advantage of all the cool benefits of connecting, engaging within the space filled with all these SOLIDWORKS experts. You log in with your existing 3D Experience ID, and if you don't have one yet, it takes about a minute or so to sign up, and then boom, you're in, as you're showing there on the screen. And if it's your first time in the 3D Swim user communities, to find the SOLIDWORKS forum community, just do a search in the top left there on the word SOLIDWORKS, and it'll be the first community results that shows up in your results. Click that, and you can start asking any SOLIDWORKS questions you have, sharing 3D models that you want to get some answers to, and it's that easy.
Very cool. So quick break here. So SOLIDWORKS Champions, what's up folks. I think I said that. I always have trouble when saying that. Matt Clegg has crossed over to the chat. So
Yes.
thanks once again to Matt, who of course leads our SolidWorks Champions Program. Mustafa here, hello from Iran. Hello to you. And wow, Majid from Egypt.
Yeah.
So we talk about worldwide. This is really worldwide, right? You and I, Matt, or Matthew, we're streaming live from the United States. We're in different states, of course, but worldwide. This is very cool to see.
Truly,
So
yes.
once again, guys, keep the chat messages coming. I'm actively monitoring them. I'm smiling. You're definitely adding to the show here. We'll continue to feature you throughout the episode here on SolidWorks Live. But hey, getting back to the forums, I hope you guys agree. SolidWorks, in my estimation, is the best brand in the world, right? For engineers and designers, and when it comes to our space, at least to post and answer questions, like Matthew here was mentioning, share thoughts and ideas about 3D modeling and more. It might be nice to hear some of these benefits directly from a designer. And Jason Poole actually made a video, right, describing the benefits of using the forums. Hey, let's actually take a look at that if we could.
Cool.
The first time you land in the 3D Swim user communities, you will be greeted with some quick tips to help you get acquainted with the platform. Remember that if you don't wish to see this next time, you can simply click "Don't show me again." Now, let's start with a quick tour. What we are looking at right now is the What's New feed, highlighted here and shown in the top bar. This brings together the latest content from all the communities you follow here in this central location. If you select a community, the central area now shows the latest posts and content for just that community. Again, highlighted here and shown at the top bar. To find the SolidWorks communities, simply type SolidWorks into the Find Communities bar here, and you will see that the list is now filtered to show just a few. As we are going to use these a lot, let's add them as a favorite by simply dragging and dropping them into My Favorite Community. Now I will have quick access to these super valuable communities. Let's select the SolidWorks User Forum community and check out the latest content. You can change the content feed by using the switcher to view in large, compact, or timeline views to see more posts and even more comments. This icon allows you to change the sort order. These colorful icons represent the post types. You can use them to filter and see only that type. Let's select the question filter. I want to add a question, so I select here and type in my title. Expanding the post will give you an even richer edit experience to format your question and make it easier to read. Then I simply finish typing my question. If you wish to add even more detail, such as an image, video, or even a 3D model, you can upload or simply drag and drop to add. You can add a hashtag for future search purposes, and you can also tag individuals in this area. Once you are happy with the question, you will select Publish. Now the question is live. Notice that question is outlined in red. This means it is unanswered. Now I will show you an example of answering a question. You can simply select the question, then type in the correct answer. Again, you can drag and drop images like so that will help support your answer. Then when you are finished, you can hit the Submit button. As a person that asks the question, you can prove out these answers, and if they are correct, you can go ahead and hit the Validate button. This will let others know that this is the correct information. You will see that the post outline turns from red to green. This allows others to know that the question was successfully answered. Now let's talk about notifications. This small bell icon is a notifications panel. Select this, then configure settings for 3D Swim. Make sure you select browser and email options so you can stay informed. Also, another valuable tool to know is the search tool. You can either search the entire platform or do a search in the current tab. This is the 6W tags. They will help you refine your search by type of post, who created it, when it was created. So this helps you find exactly what you are looking for. I hope you found this video helpful. And for more frequently asked questions, please visit swim.3ds.com.
That was fantastic to see. Again, to get Jason as a designer, right? Jason's view of that.
He's awesome.
Yeah, a couple things I noticed, and anyone who noticed anything in the chat that you thought was interesting or noteworthy, let us know. Just looking at the chat, there's funny messages. But one thing that I liked, and by the way, I did have a hand. I have to say, as a quick bit of trivia, I had a hand in modeling that monster truck. I had the almost hidden parts. I modeled the chassis. We did that as part of a feature on engineering.com when the Maker Edition came out. Yeah, so of course the body, right? The body is what everyone looks at, and of course the aggressive tires. I did the chassis though. None of it works out the chassis.
It's all based upon a strong foundation, Sean.
Yes, that I built. So I had to mention that. But Jason shows some interesting things. I love the drag and drop. I love easy tools where you just drag and drop an image, copy paste an image right in. You don't have to like save it and then upload it, press upload deliberately. You can do a quick drag and drop. One thing you didn't show is if you wanted to, we'll see an example of this in a later clip during this segment. You can actually upload your 3D models and they can be viewed by other users, right?
Yes. Yep. That's right.
So that is a huge, whenever you're talking about 3D data and you're saying, hey, I can't get a fillet in this area, it's much easier to just say like, here it is. Like you can actually rotate around and zoom in, zoom out, measure. So you could put 3D data there as well. There's a native viewer. So that is a huge advantage. But one other thing I noticed, Matthew, is that there are other communities listed. We've been talking a lot about, and duly so, right? A lot about these SOLIDWORKS User Forums, that there are these other communities, right? I saw in Jason's video a whole host of other communities within this area called 3D Swim, right? Which hosts all these communities. And I wanted to ask you, what are some communities that you think our community here at SOLIDWORKS would derive benefit from visiting, and why?
Yeah, Sean. So, we've been talking about the forum community. We saw Jason's video, but, this is truly a case of, but wait, there's more.
Oh, wait, there's more.
We have that community where there's a lot of people answering questions, but, to highlight a couple others, there's firstly, you're showing here, there's the Makers Made in 3D community that any user can go check out and see what other makers who are using the SOLIDWORKS for Makers offer are creating and sharing. There's so many cool designs and ideas featured right in that community. Just a wonderful place to find inspiration for your own next design that you might be thinking of and building out in time. So it's a great place. Go there, like stuff, engage with it, and see who's sharing some things. And there's a couple colleagues posting some cool things in there. Chin Lu and Salama have some awesome posts in there. But yeah, I highly encourage people to go check this particular community out, because here's an example of what you were talking about, where you have that 3D model right in there. You can rotate, look at it, and truly see what people are working on and get a feel for what's happening there.
Yeah, and I had that full screen. I had this full screen here in this screen capture, but this is just a browser. Yeah, like you think about e-drawings, and this is going to be a big theme throughout the year. E-drawings is one of our most frequented pieces of software, right? It's our most used, most searched pieces of software. Yeah, that capability is just in a browser natively. There's no add-in or any plugin that you have to, mess with, as our CAD users would typically see. But yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy. And that other community you were just showing, there's another very important community, the SOLIDWORKS News and Information community. Users can visit, keep up to date with all kinds of SOLIDWORKS related news, announcements. And it's even a space where you can ask questions there too. You can ask questions to the SOLIDWORKS brand experts. In that community, we recently just released all the content from the Nashville 3D Experience World 2023 event that you were talking about with Matt earlier, Matt Clegg. And I encourage everyone to go there and check it out, as it is an incredible source of knowledge of all the content from that event.
That's huge. That is huge. So yeah, the SOLIDWORKS News and Info community, we'll have all these links in the description. That that is a big announcement, a really huge asset, I think, to the community that we make after the event, right? You think about 3D Experience World, it is a huge knowledge share every year that we do. And we're making these technical sessions that were delivered by you guys and by our internal experts here as well on the products available to you just by logging into that community and viewing that table that we just looked at. So that is awesome. So you can access that all throughout the year, right?
Yes, it's there all the time. Any time of day you need it, just log in, and everything has a link to all the different presentations that are available that you can download and check out.
Very cool. Very cool. So, hey, as we move to our next section, Matthew, what's in your eyes, what's the big call to action here with this segment? How can our community, which is, of course, it's packed with the smartest SOLIDWORKS users around, how can they get involved with the user forums?
Yeah, well, I encourage all SOLIDWORKS users to jump into the community. Again, at swim.3ds.com. Check it out. If you have a question or a design challenge that has you stumped, ask your question in the community, and you'll find other SOLIDWORKS users from around the world jumping in 24/7, willing to help you out and enable you to succeed with SOLIDWORKS. You can build your network and learn about some of our most incredible users out there in the world. We've been featuring some of them on a monthly basis. And as you're showing, Sean, just you can get some answers pretty quickly to a question that you ask.
Yeah, this was a great experiment. I don't know how many, I know some of you personally here, but yeah, I posted the question and I got a lot of different answers, but all very valid answers for different circumstances. And just like a lot of other social platforms, you can give someone a like, right, to tell them like, hey, thanks for the answer there. And like Jason showed, you can also click validate answer in a case where it is sort of a yes or no type answer, where it's like, yes, this resolved my issue, or this was the right way to do this. I appreciate that. And in my case, I had so many useful answers that I just gave a like. Those are all good answers. So thank you to everyone. Yeah.
And we've talked about asking questions like you showed there, Sean. But when you're in the community, if you see a question, think, hey, I know the answer to that. By all means, post your answer. Give back to the community and get that nice, warm and fuzzy feeling from helping someone with their SOLIDWORKS usage.
Yeah, it doesn't cost anything, right? It doesn't cost anything to sign up, and it doesn't cost anything to share your knowledge and insight. So Matthew, thank you for everything you do here.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, and thank you for educating us here on the communities. Surely appreciate it.
And we'll see you on the community.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, I love a good knowledge share. Love sharing knowledge in a worthwhile manner, and it sure is great, right, when others do the same when I'm personally in need. So everything Matthew said, right? But once again, shout out to several of the people who answered my question on the forums about protecting IP. And well before we had the SOLIDWORKS Champions Program, which we talked about at the very beginning of this episode, the SOLIDWORKS User Forums, we had the SOLIDWORKS User Group Network. And now you might be thinking, this user group network, right? It's been around for over 2 decades now. Why would I want to join a SOLIDWORKS user group today, much less become a SOLIDWORKS user group leader? And what does that even mean in 2023? Well, that is a challenge for my next guest, and I think he is up to the challenge. Let's give a warm welcome to my friend, Dan Wagner. Dan, how are you?
I'm well, Sean. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Welcome to SOLIDWORKS Live. So I hope this is obvious with you being the manager of the SOLIDWORKS User Group Network and all. Obvious first question. What is the SOLIDWORKS User Group Network?
Yeah, for sure. I would hope that be an obvious one for me, definitely. But yeah, for me, like if I could boil the network down to a few simple phrases, right? It is a collection of people who want to gather, who want to learn about SOLIDWORKS from each other, and who want to network with each other about, hey, how do you use SOLIDWORKS? What kind of projects are you working on? Are there any new things or new issues you're running into? Those types of interactions happen all over the world in meetings, kind of like what you're seeing here on screen. This was actually a meeting in Boston, but these meetings happen everywhere. And as you mentioned, for more than 2 decades, physical gatherings, physical meetings of people meeting on their own time, taking time out of maybe their evenings after work, and just getting together to just nerd out about SOLIDWORKS, if I can boil it down to that.
Yeah, and even looking at the video here, it's a lot more than people might less remember or might even think. And we're going to talk about a lot of these changes and evolutions as we move about the segment. But it's not. It surely is not always looking at tips and tricks presentations. There are a lot of different types of presentations. Sometimes people are actually doing demonstrations with hardware, with their machines, right? Doing factory tours. There's a lot to get out of within User Group Network that we'll explore here. But let's even say, Dan, last three to 5 years. How has the SOLIDWORKS User Group Network changed over that time frame?
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's a really relevant question and a particularly interesting question to me, because I've been here for about 3 years and going on the end of my 3rd year. And even just in that time, I've seen the network change quite a bit. As you'd imagine, the last few years was challenging for these people we were just describing to meet in person, right? The network was built on in-person meetings, and that was challenging over the last few years. So in terms of changes, we learned to meet virtually. We learned to be present with each other, even if that meant in a digital format, on a Zoom meeting or a GoToMeeting or a YouTube live stream like we're doing here. So I saw the network as a whole become much more comfortable, broadening our horizons, connecting with people on other sides of the planet, and adopting new technology, which I definitely think is a silver lining, is a bit of a positive thing we can take out of the craziness that happened over the last few years. We really saw SWUGN learn and grow to be different. And now we're coming kind of full circle. I see it on my end. I'm seeing groups here 3 years later return to physical meetings. We track this on a weekly basis. How many meetings are happening? Where are they? What are they? And overwhelmingly, we're shifting back to physical meetings, which is really cool to observe for sure.
Just taking a break here, looking at the chat. So John Matrician, longtime SOLIDWORKS User Group leader, says there's a lot to say about helping others and not just learning new things. Both are key in SWUGN. So awesome comment. And then the Puebla Mex SOLIDWORKS User Group says the best community in the world. Awesome. And then Heather Haas, who just made an appearance on the episode here, says, oh, hey, there you go. You never know when you're going to pop up as a guest.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, that's why I love looking at those video recaps, Sean, because you see so many familiar faces, so many people we work with all the time. And it's funny. It's cool to see some of those folks here in the chat as well. You got a great turnout today.
100%. It's all for you guys, right? Everything that you guys have built. And of course, everyone out there who is a part of in any way, large or small, in these community programs and initiatives. You build what this is. So we appreciate you. But
yeah, for sure.
Dan, some rapid fire. You ready?
Oh boy, I'm nervous. All right, go ahead, Sean.
All right. So, and you better answer all of these exactly in order that I give them to you. All right. So how many user groups are there today? And I think this gives people a really good idea of scale. The answer to that question: how many user groups are there? Where are these user groups located? Are they all physical today, as in, are they all in person? And are they all general SOLIDWORKS user groups where they're all addressing sort of the same sort of high level thing of SOLIDWORKS?
Boy, I could use some bullet points for all those questions. But, that's, again, I think a really interesting question this year specifically to look at, because question number one, how many groups are there? There's well over 300 known user groups, over 340 to be precise. And kind of an exercise or a bit of a process we're going through this year is looking at that list of groups and understanding how many of them are really active and how many are holding meetings and maybe how many need help. There's a list of groups within that 300 and some that haven't held a meeting because of COVID or because of changes over the last few years. And it's time to reach out to those groups. So looking at the network as a whole, one resource I use quite a bit is this map. It's just solidworks.com/SWUGN map. And it lets you get a high level view of where all these groups are and then kind of drill down to the specific group you want to see. We've added 150 groups since the end of 2020. So 2021, 2022, and just a few months here into 2023, we've added like 150 new groups. And Eric's making a great point in the chat here that, yeah, we have a new group in Hawaii. I had to expand my map view here to make sure I'm capturing Greg Green in Hawaii and his new user group. So
hey, I'm free. I'm free for a presentation
You know, you're not the
fun.
only person who's told me that, Sean. I've had a few people reach out and say, "Hey, I noticed there's a meeting coming up in Hawaii." I'm actually presenting for Greg's group next week. You can imagine that the time difference will be a little interesting, but I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, it's a cool year to look at that list and boil it down to who's having meetings, who needs some help, where are these groups. It's definitely kind of a year, as we just mentioned, transitioning back to physical meetings and getting back to our roots.
Just saw a comment, the most isolated group. Not a bad place to be isolated.
I agree.
And Heather here saying, I think we need to do a SWUGN.
I agree, Heather. Heather, I'm on board. Let's make it happen.
Yep. We need more user groups in Hawaii. There's just tons. Do a whole tour. But hey, you know, one of the things I found interesting, of course, I was your direct teammate, right? We still work at SOLIDWORKS together, but on the community team, one of the things I've seen really evolve, I would say, over the past, like we said, 3 to 5 years or so, a lot of different special events, a lot of insertion of projects. So it's not just about these amazing, you know, meetings and get-togethers and the networking and the connection making. All of that's still there in more ways than ever, right? But you know, again, events, projects. What are some special events or projects that SOLIDWORKS user group leaders and members have gotten involved in, and are there any coming up here in 2023?
Yeah, so for Beyond 3D Experience World, right, which is everybody's project, our one big flagship project, there's two that really come to mind that I've become more familiar with and have had a chance to work with over the last few years. First and foremost, of course, is SLUGME. We had an amazing SLUGME 6, which we talked about before, where we streamed for over 25 hours. We viewed in 41 countries by over 3,000 people. It was an awesome time. SLUGME 7 last year was more about charity. It was more about charitable projects. And we accomplished some amazing things as part of SLUGME 7 with charitable organizations all over the world. And as Matt mentioned earlier, we're hard at work on SLUGME 8, which is going to take place later this year. It's looking like September of this year, and that's going to be a blast. The other event, as we're seeing here, is Iron SWUG. So Iron SWUG is Adam and Brad, two amazing user group leaders, ride their motorcycles along a set path and visit a user group every day. Last year, they did it through the Southeast. This year, they're coming through the Northeast, Sean. So they're kind of coming through our neck of the woods. And ultimately, we're going to finish up at our headquarters in Waltham for a big party in June. So if you're looking for events, like big flagship events to get involved with, or even just view, Iron SWUG, SLUGME, and of course, 3D Experience World as we approach that.
So cool. Yeah, I'll have to make it out to the one coming by us.
Yep.
And it's really cool to see that with Iron SWUG, right? It isn't just SOLIDWORKS, and that's true. I think of perhaps all the stuff we just talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these initiatives, a lot of these events were not our brainchildren.
No, in
they
fact,
weren't, right?
Yeah, I think that's the best part of it, is these things come from the community, and I look at it as my role and our role to just support them as best as possible and give them as many resources as we can. And as you see, folks like Adam and Brad and Todd and Eric, they do pretty amazing things when we get resources. So it's awesome. I love my job. It's a very, very fortunate position to be in, for sure.
100%. I see Joe Lance in the chat. Joe, who of course is on our last episode of Live. Joe saying, "See you in Hawaii."
And you never know where Joe will turn up. He might actually be there. We'll see.
With some running emojis, I'm sure Joe, with how often he runs, could probably get there pretty quickly.
He could.
He'd find a way.
Yeah.
But then let's say I'm watching this, and there are two primary ways, right, that we can get involved within the SOLIDWORKS User Group Network, right, as a leader, as a member. Let's start with leader, right? How do I become a SOLIDWORKS User Group leader? What's the process to apply? What are the benefits? And maybe lastly, what are the requirements?
For sure. And we actually do a pretty nice job of spelling most of that out on the application. So if you just visit swugn.org, you'll see Become a Leader. And this application will ask you for obviously all your info, why you want to be a group leader, where you're located, what's your SOLIDWORKS experience like. But we'll also explain what are the sponsorships, what are the ways in which we will support your group. but also some of the requirements, some of the things that we're asking of you as a group leader. Because Matt spelled out earlier what it takes to be a champion, and there's certainly things that are required to be a group leader. And once you fill this out, we'll connect with you and walk through the entire process on our end to get you onboarded. And we have a pretty great process, pretty painless process to get that done.
For sure. All right. So last question, and kind of the same question, but this time about SOLIDWORKS User Group members. Okay. So how do I become a SOLIDWORKS User Group member? What's the process to apply? What are the benefits? And again, lastly, what are the requirements?
Sure. Yeah. So I think the membership is also interesting, Sean, because this whole segment I think we're doing here, this whole show is kind of the funnel of the community. We have 7 million SOLIDWORKS users in the world. And Matt mentioned before, we have a very small percentage that are actually champions. So I think being a group member, joining a user group is one of the very first things you can do to really get involved in the community before you consider becoming a leader or then maybe becoming a champion, right? These are kind of steps you can take in this process. Going to that map we mentioned earlier, solidworks.com/SWUGN map will help you find the group closest to you. We're showing the Waltham group here, but any group should have this same link. You can jump to that group's landing page, most likely on meetup.com, and join the group for free. The group is entirely free. The meeting should be free. And it's there again as a community effort, as a free resource for you as a SOLIDWORKS user. So for me, if I'm a SOLIDWORKS user just getting started or trying to get a little bit more connected, standing out from that 7 million, this is one of the best ways to do that is joining a user group for sure.
100%. And I think you have some comments coming in that I think are pretty instructive or illustrative of your point. So this comment, which may not seem directly related, but so we have Silvio here, and then we have, let's see, we have Kumar saying hello from India.
Awesome. We have a lot of really awesome user group leaders in India.
Right, and that's something that I think is worth talking about, right? So we're all based here. The four of us who have been on this episode, we're based in the U.S., but we all saw the map, right? All the red markers.
Yeah.
That's a global map, and there are user groups everywhere. A lot of them tend to meet virtually or have virtual availability as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't find one geographically, consider starting one, attending virtually. You could do either or both of those. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah. For example, this weekend, Saturday morning, we have a big event going on in Puerto Rico. And what's interesting about it is it's an all Spanish speaking user group meeting that's physically in Puerto Rico, but we're also live streaming it to a Zoom. So on that map, right, you can just go to Puerto Rico, look at their group, and the meeting is right there. And if you're a Spanish speaking SOLIDWORKS user, this is a meeting that's tailored towards you, and it should be an awesome time. And you can do it Saturday while you're, washing the dishes or doing some laundry or something, right? Listen in to some great SOLIDWORKS tips.
Yeah, I've certainly done that in a way. Yeah, I remember. I think it was SWUGN. Yeah, so SWUGN 7.
Yeah,
I had it on my phone, and my kids even watched it.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
So very, very, very cool. So yeah, just a few comments as we close up. So we have the Armenia SOLIDWORKS User Group, Mexico regional meeting.
Yep, a lot of stuff in the works here for sure.
Very cool. So it's awesome to see our worldwide audience in the chat. Well, Dan, it's been so impressive. I've said to Matt and Matthew, I'm so impressed with the work you guys do. You've certainly evolved SWUGN. It was great seeing that up close and personal as part of the community team, but it's been equally impressive here in 2023 as you've scaled things even further and keeping the network, I think, growing, but also healthy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a testament to the work you've done, but also to like you mentioned at the very beginning of the segment, the active involvement of our group leaders and members. So thank you so much for that.
Sure. It was a pleasure to be here, Sean. Thanks, man.
Awesome. All right. So thank you to each and every one of you out there who's involved within one or more, like Dan was mentioning, one or more of these programs. Like I realize there are thousands of you contributing to the worldwide identity of what people think about when they think of SOLIDWORKS. And I appreciate that so much about all of you who do that in a positive way. Thank you as well to our producer, Ian, our special guests, once again, Matt, Matthew, and Dan. And thank you to everyone who watched this episode. So I'm going to ask this, I think for the first time this episode, I kept it at the end. I see a bunch of you still watching. If you're still here, I hope that means that you got something out of this episode today. And if you did, we will have episodes like this one, keeping you up to speed on all things SOLIDWORKS throughout the year. So if you liked what you saw and you want more of this free content, let's keep up with one another. Click subscribe and the little bell next to it on YouTube to do just that. We will be back tomorrow on the SOLIDWORKS channel to explore via mostly screen share of SOLIDWORKS and some related tools, how to simulate your SOLIDWORKS CAD files as a design engineer to make more efficient and better performing products. And I said design engineer deliberately. I meant not a full-blown analyst. So this will be an episode about simulation and using simulation to inform your designs as a design engineer. And I think that'll have broad applicability to so many of you listening here today. It's been a joy here to see you guys in the chat, and I hope to see you tomorrow again. See you soon.